Good morning. I'm Cynthia Hoven, and this is Eurythmy Online, bringing elements of eurythmy as a personal practice so that through these lessons, you can find many things to do to create your own daily practice for health and spiritual journeys. This webinar series is the webinar series on the living light of color, color expressed as gesture. And this is the second lesson in that series. In the essays describing what we're going to do in this series, I speak about how color is much more than merely pigment. Eurythmy is, as Goethe, Rudolf Steiner's inspirer, the natural scientist Goethe said, color is the deeds and suffering of light. And when we, especially in this season of summer, live in this external light, this magnificence of color around us, we must ask, what is the color itself? What does it mean that light suffers and has joy and sorrow? Also, what does it mean that color plays upon the surfaces of things and then reveals itself back to our sense of sight in different experiences of color? What does it mean that we can also experience color in gesture? We can also experience super sensible color in experiencing a person's aura, which we don't actually see as a pigment experience, but as a sentient experience or a qualitative experience. Or you can experience the color of a mood, of a room when you walk into it. Is it bright and light filled or is it sorrowful? And so on. So color has many different aspects, and in eurythmy, by experiencing color as gesture, we open up new portals for understanding what that is. So last week, we worked intensively on the primary color polarity of blue and yellow. Blue as this peripheral color that embraces things, embraces the world in round forms, and yellow as pure straight lines of outstreaming light. And you'll remember that I pointed us to the need to experience the color has different dynamics. The color has the aspect of form, straight lines or curves, the aspect of movement, reed or gently rounding, the aspect of feeling, and the aspect of character, where we feel it in our bodies as muscle tension. And these four relate to the four bodies of the human being. The physical relates to the form, the etheric relates to the movement, the astral is the feeling quality, and the character is the muscle tension, which is the will of the ego. So as we go through all these colors, we'll be looking at these elements, and we will also then begin to look at different sounds in language and how Rudolf Steiner, from early on, asked that eurythmists practice discovering three, not just one, but three colors to embrace, to discover, in doing nearly all of the sounds in a personal practice. So we'll be looking at that today. Let's begin by picking up the blue and the yellow again, and then we'll go on. Begin by taking your place in your space. You become deeply centered, deeply introspective, listening in yourself. Now you remember how in our practice we always relate to heaven and earth, finding our upright position and the power of having the ego or the love of God living in our hearts. And then this 3-part exercise, you step to the right and you step to your left. In doing so, you build in your body sensation this downward facing triangle and feel weight bears downwards. And we experience this in the color of blue as a deep color, dark, going into the earth in this case. Friends, it's not formulaic, but in this case, because it is touching more as if touching the bass tones of music, the blue touches the depths. And now in contrast, from this point below your solar plexus up, radiant lights, yellow, weightless, we feel light streams upwards. And then you feel where the blue and the yellow triangles overlap, and that makes this diamond. And you feel here in this diamond the color green, balancing blue and yellow. And you feel in the middle, I hold the balance. And as you drop your arms and bring your feet together, hold on to the sensations, the after effects of what you've just done. You've discovered your body geometry in a spiritual way. Again, weight bears downwards. You feel, I am an earth being. Light streams upwards. Even as an earth being, I'm always related to spirit. In the middle, I hold the balance. And here you feel your individuality, that part of yourself that walks your biography through life. And release. And release. And just for variety, let's do this the other way around. Light streams upwards. You feel from where we come. Weight bears downwards. Our work as earth beings. Deep breath. In the middle, I hold the balance. And release. And release. Thank you. And now, in many, many of our Eurythmy lessons online, we've been taking the contraction and expansion exercise as our next step. Let's do that again today. And it's so clear how that relates to a blue and a yellow experience. So let's take that on and let's begin with our arms extended to the periphery, but in this case, not in a yellow way. That comes at our second step. Feel the periphery as the great rounded dome of heaven and bring that into yourself. Bringing, contracting space until in your heart you discover in me is God. And now we'll expand outwards. You'll have this yellow light inside your heart, and radially you stream out. I am in God. And now bring the space in a curved way into yourself. In me is God. And I am in God. The blue curves around your core and takes you to feel the heart of yellow, the sunniness that lives inside the human heart, your spirit light, your individual spirituality, and you ray yourself back, sunlight, into space. I am in God. And now the world gives you back to yourself, wrapping itself around you in curves. In me is God. And now let your own light grow, sun-like. I am in God. And release. And you feel all of that at once. Please try not to go right back into a reflective or thinking mode as you drop your arms. Feel how you are a little bit different than you were 5 minutes ago. Breathe. Pay attention to this inner space. Yes. Thank you. And now I want to remind you or look once again at this very simple form that we used yesterday or last week with showing the simple contrast between yellow's inherent quality and blue. Blue always in a eurythmy form will, if we're doing a pure blue portrayal in eurythmy, because it's in a poem or whatever, we will incorporate curves into our eurythmy form. And if we're working with radiant outstreaming light, we will discover more yellowness. And so just as a practice for this last week, we already worked on this form of blue and yellow. Let's try this again. I'd like to begin this one from the inside. So we will, please, you'll start in the center, stream forwards with yellow, and then let a blue wave take you back into the center. Stream out, yellow, blue. You see that the circle is divided into 6 points. Yellow, blue. And if at home you had 8, that's not a problem. Or however many parts of the pie you want to make. But let's practice this alternation a couple of times with yellow and blue as we did last week. Right? Maybe I'll leave the board here for you and I'll try to get it out of the light so there's no glare on the board. Let's try. Okay. I'm beginning at the front of my form and I'm going to curve backwards to my left. On this form, right, left, front, back are not particularly important. You could go clockwise or counterclockwise. That doesn't matter. Okay. I'm going to start by going forwards with yellow gesture. I am prepared right now. I'm in neutral, but as I listen into my eurythmy intention, I feel this light-filled, streaming happiness, joy. It's not pushing it, it's transparent, selfless joy. And I'll go straight forwards. Hello. It's not noisy, it's not pushy. I'm just transformed into a beautiful sun ray. And then blue wraps around me. I'm taking that and I'm going to end up in the center of the circle again. Blue. And now I will go out a little bit diagonally forward to my left. Yellow joy. Yeah, it's not too fast, but it's totally free. And now blue, and we'll take blue from the skies, wrap itself around the earth like a mother wraps a child. But inside, you'll find another yellow. I am a spirit. And I came to earth and I became wrapped inside a body. Blue. Hello. And blue very kindly. And your blue doesn't overcome the yellow. The yellow responds by saying, ah, yes, and yellow and blue. Good. I'll stop here with that. But as I said to you last week, you can practice that. Let's just remember one more thing as we go through this. Let's look at how yellow and blue live in the human body. If you were to say, which part of your shape is, or which part of your beingness is yellow, I think you might feel, you feel the yellow of light in your head. Thinking, clear consciousness is yellow, and it's surrounded by the blue dome of your skull. So in your head, in my head, we have blue shape surrounding yellow activity. And if you will, try to imagine how that is a polar experience in your arms. In your yellow arms, you're reaching into the blue infinity of the world, which receives your deed. So the shape of the arms is yellow, whereas the shape of the head is blue. And the activity of the arms streams into the blueness of the world space. It's received. That's what this means. It's taken up by the world. And the way that light is taken up in the head is into consciousness. And so that takes us then to green. And we're going to live with green for a little bit right now, where yellow and blue come into conversation. Now, of course, we've all experienced that in painting or drawing in our color experience. We know that yellow and blue combine to make green. But what is that as a gestural experience? What happens when this radiant, outstreaming, selfless yellow and this very solicitously pure, kind blue meet? Where does that take us? So let's play with that a little bit. Let's put one arm into yellow and another arm into blue. And try to feel, remember the yellow is completely selfless. Oh, let me go back to this for just a moment. I feel the yellow going weightlessly right through the marrow of my bone. I don't have any muscle tension here. Everything inside me is pure anti-gravity, just free in movement without any push whatsoever. And the blue, if you remember I said, curves. I feel the tension of the shaping capacity on the inside surface of my arms, like this here, like the blue dome of heaven embracing. Yeah, the inside surface, not pushing, but holding and protecting. Now let's bring them into conversation. Yellow, taking flight. Blue, receiving the flight. And now if they come together, this is a little improvisational, but the yellow has to forego its straight line to listen to the green, to the blue. And the blue has to release its curve. They're going to meet somewhere in between here. And we find it in a breathing relationship between expansion and contraction. The green is fleeing, protecting, but no, it finds a life delicately in between the two. And because of that, or in that, green will lay itself flat on surfaces. A little bit more yellow and it starts to flee into green yellow. A little bit more blue, it becomes blue green. But a pure green is relaxed. But always above the arm, you could fly into yellow. Below the arm, you could dip into green. So you feel an exquisite kind of gentle texture there on the arms. And in that movement, then they can breathe in or out. Got a breathing quality. And then it also starts to make surfaces. Let's try again. And perhaps if we want to make a little form, we can have a little bit of forward and backwards, a little bit like a wave. Into yellow and green. And you can improvise it. Just breathing a little into the light and into the depth. Now let's try crossing the arms and then expanding them and crossing them. Yellow and green. What does that do to your soul as you do it? It's a different experience than the freedom or the protection. The green soberly holds the balance, but peacefully. In the planets, it's the planet of Venus, the beautiful one. It keeps things calm. Yeah. And it, as I said before, it makes surfaces. Now let's play with the journey from yellow to green. There are different shades. We have pure yellow. We have green. But as yellow starts to become green, here I've got the arm, the yellow just going through my fingertips. And now you see how what I'm doing with my hands at my periphery, not just my fingertips, but my whole aura. I'm going to start bluing it a little bit. So my hands are just a little bit blue here. And the deeper I come, the more that will change into just the surface. Okay, let's try to lighten up here. I'm going to go from here to selfless. This would be pure yellow, yellow, green. Now this green, yellow, almost such a chartreuse. Green, yellow can be beautiful, but it can also start to become a very egotistical color. When that wonderful radiant yellow starts to become sour. We don't want, or we can touch that. We need to know what that is. Where blue and yellow meet an unhelpful balance. Okay, and now we'll go down into blue. Now with blue, instead of having this whole inner protective circle, what does blue do, or what does green do when it heads down into blue? Okay, I'm down to here, but what if there's a little bit out, or if there's still yellow in here, you're going to have a different kind of muscle tension in your hands. Blue, but I want to get out. Blue, green, green, blue, deep blue, protective blue. It's going to start. Let's head up towards green. Going to start feeling edges, green, green, yellow, 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 green, yellow. Okay. Now let's try working this whole plane of green, like a green field, down into blue. Green likes boundaries, likes edges, likes surfaces, and likes veins. We'll come back and pick that up in a moment when we look at a couple color combinations, but now I want to work with red. And what does red do? Red is on the polarity of, or the direction of sounds of colors that work with an intensification of yellow. So yellow, if it becomes more dense, it would become orange. If it's less selfless, becomes more present, it becomes orange. And finally, it becomes red. And let's jump right to red right now. If you can take all of this selfless transparency and then imbue it with real will force, it loses its selflessness and becomes pushy. It becomes contracted and then pushes. So the red, well, yellow weightlessly flies with no muscle tension. With red, in contrast, you need to create and engender a lot of muscle tension. So you pull this outstreaming light back into yourself and push. But at the same time that you push, you also create in yourself resistance to that pushing. I wish you had a partner working with you right now, because then you would imagine you and your partner would actually touch each other and push and push and push. And you discover what kind of muscle tension you need to express your innate will when it's really pure and compacted. But when you're really working with red, you will not just let yourself push out. You have to experience the counter pressure in yourself. Sometimes you can get out, that's okay, but you always are working against resistance. So as we practice this red, I want you to use the character. Remember, I said the character is the expression of the will in the color. I want you to contract all of these muscles with your hands. At the wrist, you pull them back. You pull back here, you pull back here. And as much as I'm pushing, I'm also creating the counter resistance. Red. And this is, can you feel that pure will force? Again, red. You can, if it's helpful, you can do a little bit of putting your hands together to feel red against red. Red. How does it work with the lower part of the body? You also feel that you contract the muscles down here. And now imagine your own force as you go towards another human being with this power. Walk into a room, walk into a meeting with an agenda. Unstoppable force. I can feel it in my forehead as well, in my eyes and my glands. But we also very much get the power for that from here, from the belly and from the lowest chakras. You feel my legs are as tight as my arms are. I release. And now I can also take this red and build a red wall around myself. Like this. I'll start down here and I'll press. Pushing against. Next week, we will also look at violet. If violet works against the red wall, then we'll have this this dialogue between red and blue. Let's just stay with the red for now. Lots of muscle tension. The feeling is deep presence, assertive, outgoing presence. The movement is pushing, the movement is pushing from within outwards, and the form is this convex curve. Oh. So different from the blue, right? Again, excuse me. Excuse me very much. I don't know if that hurts your ears a lot. Let's try. Yeah, have you got yourself? Let's go from yellow to red to practice this change. Who are you as a yellow being? What happens when you allow the light of the world, the light of God, the light of spirit to come into you and be reborn from you in yellow? You are a sun. And notice how selfless. The capacity to be yellow comes from spirit light, and you ray it back. The capacity to become red also comes from spirit, but you have grabbed onto it more deeply and personalized it with your own red willpower. So, now let's go from yellow again to red. You have been created in light, yellow, and you have the power of egotism, ego power, ego will. Again, we are light beings, yellow. Feel that all around you, very much in back as well. And red. And you feel the difference in yourself. You also know, of course, in different situations, you will manifest different colors. Yellow. And red. Many of you know that in our work with anthroposophy, we speak about the temperaments. There are 4 temperaments, and the different temperaments all have their colors as well. And for those of you who are familiar with this phrasing, the temperament color of yellow would be the sanguine, wouldn't it? Yellow, which means that the etheric body is given over so much to yellow expression. And of course, the choleric color would be red. You got your tiger engaged, red, your bull. Yes. And let's just notice what we're discovering here, how eurythmy is a very interesting way to practice knowing all the colors of our soul, all the different powers of our being. Who are you in these different capacities, and what you need to have to do to develop all of them in right relationship. Let's try blue now. Blue. When yellow came into us, we were radiant. And our yellow light is born into the womb of the mother and surrounded by loving blue. So it is not so much your personal ego, it's the world ego that loves you. You feel yourself, you're connecting to the world forming forces in the blue, the world holding forces. And then green. This equanimity, equilibrium of the green between yellow and blue, the equanimity, dynamic, but that's the ground tone of the phlegmatic character. And the blue of the melancholic, not in the sense of tragedy and sadness, but of the one who understands how we are held in destiny, how we are held in situations. All right. I'd like to take the next step with this study and look at the colors. As I said, Rudolf Steiner's first journey in teaching colors was to teach us to hear the sound quality. So what does a B sound like, or an ah? How is that sound experienced in gesture? And then years later, he was asked, do the sounds have colors as well? Well, yes, of course they do. And we have this book, which I showed you last week. Let me pick it up for you again. This wonderful collection of, let's see. When Rudolf Steiner said, yes, of course, colors, the sounds have colors, then he was asked to work on them. And he and his dear colleague, Edith Marion, worked on making drawings for all the different sounds. And in the beginning, Edith Marion's drawings were all quite lovely and Jugendstil and avant-garde. And then he said, no, we need them to be more neutral, more objective. And so then she made, together, they made these more rigid forms. And he told her what color he wanted them. And the colors portray the movement, the feeling, and the character of each sound. And so that's our whole doorway into colors in eurythmy. So here we have perhaps the most archetypal one, the easiest to understand, and this is the B. This is the gesture that Rudolf Steiner asked this woman, Edith Marion, to portray. And we have here a yellow dress, and that's the movement. The dress will always portray the movement. And a blue veil, which portrays the feeling, and the red character, which portrays the muscle tension. So I have a few more, and then we'll work on them. But I'm choosing here the ones that are done in the colors that we've already learned, only some of them. B. I'd like to show you the R as well. The R is red, yellow, and green. And it's here. Again, he makes it really angular. And the movement is red. So it's very vigorous. There's a lot of engagement on this. The feeling is the freedom of yellow, not attached to this movement, but just bathing in movement. And the character is green. So the capacity to keep your muscles non-egotistical, even in this flurry of movement. Right? Did I put the K in here? No, the K is pure red and yellow. Didn't include that here. I have another one though. Here is the H. We're going to move many of these in a moment. The H, yellow movement, yellow dress, a light red veil, and blue soft muscle tension. So we'll look at that. But I want to also look at some vowels, not all of them, just a few. And probably the most vivid one is the E. The E with, let me move my fingers here, yellow movement. So your interior is yellow, like it is also in the H, like it is also in the B. yellow with this red feeling all around you, but the blue holds it in quiet. And very deliberately, the character is put in specific places in the body. And we, as eurythmists, get to practice putting muscle tension into the body in different ways. Here's another one. This is O. I think it was a little hard to portray the O in 2 dimensions. I believe another way to draw the O would have been to have the O in front, but that wasn't done. No. So the feeling is red, so a generous outstreaming, red-like color, outstreaming, a lot of feeling, or a lot of inner vitality pushing, yellow, weightlessness, and then the muscle tension is green, blue, which makes it rounded. And then the A, many of you have done enough eurythmy that you know the A, and I think it's surprising. One, I would naturally suspect the A to be a bright red everywhere, but it's not. The A is primarily green in the movement. The green movement reflects this quality of separation, making boundaries. The movement is, no, that's the green, sorry. The feeling is yellow, and then the muscle tension is red. And we notice the muscle tension goes diagonally across the body. We're going to practice these, but I also want to show you what I did when I wrote my book. As I've shown you once before, but in this context, for instance, I have worked with the same colors that Rudolf Steiner worked with, but then I wrote a meditative sentence for every one of the sounds in B, the safe boundaries in the warm embrace of the world. And then, this whole essay and a description of what to feel when you feel the B, and then how to start making yourself feel radiantly yellow, blue around you, and then the red in the cloak. And then the after effect, the feeling that you should develop in yourself in doing the sound. And I have that for each one, so that looking at them is a bit of a different experience. I won't say better, that would be arrogant, of course, but a bit of a different experience from what Rudolf Steiner's pictures are, which are angular. This is a picture in the H of giving yourself jubilantly into the heights. And I'll show you the R here. Remember how angular that R was, like that? And just to offer a little, or take it in the same direction, but with a little different gesture. Here's the R showing the powerful red inside, given over to the yellow of space, and so on. And with each of them, a meditative description so that practitioners can really access the healing properties of the different sounds, which is my wish. So I'd like to do with you the B and the E, at least that much today, before we go on into our poem. So let's begin with the E sound. The E. You stand, you fill yourself with this knowledge. I am born out of the spirit. I am a being of light. You fill yourself with this radiance through your whole body, even this part which is here covered with blue. You fill yourself, everything, with radiant yellow. And it goes from the hand all the way down to the foot. And then with red, you have a powerful self-assertion. I am here. And then a sobriety in saying, yes, I am here, but I won't fly away. I am contained in a body and I am grounded. So I find the character that keeps me here. This prevents the head, for instance, from just exalting and Luciferic self-importance. No, sobriety. And with this blue hand here in the lower pole, that's very perfect to see. I ground myself. I think if I had drawn it myself, I would have also put some blue in the lower foot. But who am I to ask Rudolf Steiner to do it over again? I mean that as an affectionate aside here. Let me just put this here and we'll try doing that together here. Okay. So right or left doesn't matter. But think for yourself of this radiant yellow that we have. Just a second. I want to pick it, just check to be sure that Rudolf Steiner calls it pure yellow. No, he calls it yellow orange. That was my suspicion when I said yellow orange means this pure yellow is tinged with a little bit of red. So it's a very gently pushing yellow orange. So you feel yourself, you've got this pure light streaming through the interior of your bones for yellow, but also a little bit of red in it. Not as powerful as the red we've been working on, but a little bit of push. Either right arm up or left, yellow. Move the other arm down and then feel this diagonal through your body, yellow. And it's not just pure yellow or pure, yeah, not just pure. Let's just try that. Pure yellow. And now with a bit more push, and you feel, oh yeah, I am in here making this. And the yellow movement is radiant. So that's what we have. The dress gives the movement. Yellow, radial with a little orange in it. But the feeling around yourself now is going to live in your aura and not directly in the movement. So before we do this, I'd like you to remember what red felt like as a movement. And now try to feel, this is a completely new willing gesture, feel it in your aura. If you walked into a room with a red energy, people would feel you. Yeah. You're feeling, oh, who am I? Oh, who am I? What am I bringing? Let me make sure. Let me see if he calls this red orange or just orange. Hold on. No, he just calls it regular red. Yeah. So create this red aura around yourself. We try not to be wrongly egotistical, not pushy, not assertive, but so present, letting your spirit fire be present. Let's try this. Yellow orange with a feeling of presence. And let's walk forwards. And you're walking in this yellow orange feeling, so not too slowly, radiant. You walk into the room. People are doing whatever they're doing. You walk into the room. They will feel you, but you don't want to be aggressive. You just want to be fully present. Yeah. E. This speaks E. And now let's turn to the blue. which he calls lightly tinted with blue. So without hiding your light, but you're going to prevent yourself from being arrogant. You'll prevent yourself from walking into the room like that by inviting yourself to really be embraced in blue. I think I will call it modesty right now. So yellow, orange, red all around you, but a blue modesty prevents you from being unnecessarily assertive. You're aware of the stakes of being here, being present. Go back. I am here. You walk into the room, but you're held. And as we've worked on many times, the other hand can be up instead. Really, definitely doesn't matter. They're different, but it's not better. This is, if the left arm is up, it's the heart side. If the right arm is up, it's the will side. Let's go backwards. Yellow, orange, red, and blue. You feel your presence and rest. Thank you. So I invite you to work with that this week a little bit. And now let's add to this another thing to practice. And this is the most wonderful B sound, the sound of Virgo, which has this inner yellow. Again, this time it's a pure yellow, expansive, conscious of your light, your spirit light, your God light. And you bring around yourself the warmth of blue. You wrap yourself in heavenly sheaths. So the feeling is yellow. The movement is blue. And then what is the red doing? And I have taught you sometimes in our classes already how to feel this red, that you, from inside, you're going to have this red muscle tension pushing back against the blue so that it prevents you from collapsing into yourself with the blue. It's like from inside, you make a little wall to solidify the comfort and the stability of being in a body. We'll do that in a second, but let's notice where the muscle tension is. Crazily, it's down here in your dress. You don't have muscle tension in your dress. Effectively, we're working not just with the muscle tension, but the tension that we have to learn how to put into our etheric body, into our movement body. Here we have it in both arms, a little bit here in the shoulder. So everywhere where there's this curving quality, this red in the head, do you really think, I don't think we really have to feel exactly this movement along the jawline, but we're looking for every feeling, every place where we can experience and strengthen the inner contours of our sheath. So let's try this here, standing straight. Bring to mind the yellowness, yellow, radiant yellow. Yeah. Feel yourself as this light being and create an image for yourself that will work, but feel yourself, what was it like to get born? And this yellow light that I am was wrapped around with the body. And I am held in this protection. Now again, and how I often teach this to people, I say, know yourself as this being of light, and you have a blue cloak on, and you're going to reach back into the heavens and draw this cloak around you. And this cloak has a red lining. So as you pull this cloak around you, you spread your arms out. The viewer, someone who were to look at you, would see here the red lining and not the blue that you're pulling around. The red lining comes closer to your body, and the blue curves around on the outside of it. And right here, when you get this far in, you feel and you affirm this redness with this little movement. It's almost like a little click that I made inside, where I go, I won't let the blue come any further. I'm going to stand comfortably inside this wall. Now, the picture doesn't show the cloak coming all the way to the floor, the way that I put it in my drawing, but they're not a contradiction. I just elaborated on it a little bit by allowing us to feel that the blue goes all the way down to the floor, goes over the head. The blue is actually a full cloak. So I understand why this doesn't have a full head to foot cloak, but rather with this style of artistry, they wanted to show here in these forms, we're looking for how to create a crystalline form. So use both of them, if you will, for your imagination. So imagine yourself in yellow. Know yourself to be a yellow being. Reach back to get your cloak. I ask people to feel that the cloak extends down to the floor and will have a cloak on your head to a hood. Or you can be more neutral, whatever you like here. But I feel the whole thing, and I feel the red lining. And draw it around yourself. And that flick happens in a moment that corresponds to when the sound is articulated. Let's try again. I'm going to show you here how I do this click, this B sound here, right here. And very slightly, do you see that I just contract my muscles with red tension and push just a tiny bit to affirm the shape when I do that B. And I feel my legs enclosed in it, my head. I feel enclosed in a warm, protective blanket here. Again. And rest. That's, I really recommend to you that you practice these two the most. They're so joyful. But let's look for a moment at the H as well. This is the H that is drawn in the Rudolf Steiner's figures. It doesn't say if it's an in-breathing or an out-breathing H, but the H, as you may know, can go either direction or in or out. And it looks to me like this one is an in-breathing H, in which I am clothed in joyous yellow, and then feel a strong red wind around me, but my muscle tension becomes soft and round. Or here, if I'm going to do the outstreaming one, I feel this yellow. My arms, my fists are lightly balled in a blue energy. And give it away. So I want to try that a couple of times. Yellow, joyful. Bring it in. The arm, you feel, remember with blue, you feel the inside surfaces of things. But you've got red all around you because the air is alive. Out and in and out and in and out and rest. Yeah. Let's try the red. There's a whole different kind of challenge. Now here the muscles are going to be green. The character is green, which means we're going to keep them kind of flat, not introverted and not extroverted, but in the middle. So the muscle tension here in the arm, also in certain parts of the body, will be green. The inner feeling, the inner movement is red, so really vigorous inside your body. That's the most we can say, red, lots of movement, but the movement, the feeling of the movement is complete freedom. So many of you have done the R with us already. Remember, it comes from Taurus in the zodiac. And we will have but we have to keep the outside, even if I'm red, powerful here, this is free and joyful and without tension. But the power's in your will. You might pay attention at different times to different parts of your body. For instance, with the R on the fingers, when the fingers come around, are you able to keep them appropriately green, not yellow and not blue? Can you keep them green? Flat, angular as much as possible. And you feel the yellow streaming behind your back like this one does in the picture. Watch your hands. Are they nice and green? No tension in them, just balance. And so on. Yeah. It's beautiful to work with these. All right. What else did I have here? Yes. The O. The O, how does he call this? Sometimes, yes, he calls the dress reddish, not red, but reddish. So the dress is going to have a sense of, in your movement, it has a sense of well-being. And when we've done the O, I've often called it this sense of buoyancy, expansive well-being. And then the yellow all around you is this weightlessness. So what is the O? It is a sound of outstreaming engagement with the world. So to do that, we give our heart into the world. The red is strong, but it's not egotistical. It's filled with the sense of well-being. I can share, I can give. And the yellow, of course, the O is a round sound. So we're going to have this radiant yellow. It means when you feel I can give, and you give and expand into the yellow. So of course we need to have blue tension in the arms It's the only way to make this blue round, to make the O round. So feel this great expansiveness, expansiveness, expansiveness. And then on the inside surface of your arms, as we've been looking at, the gentle curve. Oh. As I do this, I'm feeling the inner surface in blue, but I'm also feeling in my aura, in the feeling area, the expansion of yellow. So a tremendous contrast here. Oh. Again, and that's what gives us this feeling of buoyancy. Oh. Once again. Yellow, red, and the blue soft tension on the inside of your arms that holds the light. Thank you. Let me look for the O in my book. Take a moment for that too. This is the way we did the O here with the environment of yellow. And here was the E, powerful red feeling all around, and the sober blue. So the meditations in here are very interesting. And it would be one reason to read this. I call this a journey to the heart of language. Yeah. Your friends, there was one more aspect to this webinar series that we're doing. And we're working also on a calendar of the soul verse. You remember, those of you who were with us last week, remember that we wanted to do some work here on this, on a poem as well, feeling what's happening when we're living in this environment of light. And now I have given you so much time on the colors that we're going to have to close and not do the whole thing again, but let me outline it for you one more time. You can use your fingers to trace. So as you look at this, you trace up and down or forwards and back. Do you remember how this goes? This verse speaks of what happens in high summer when we are being tasked with the importance of, well, let me go back one. The verse before this one in the calendar of the soul says, "Oh, human beings, look, you are being drawn into the heights." And then these beautiful words, you're losing yourself, but one day you will be able to recognize or discern, you will recognize that a godly being, spiritual being, was sensing in you. And I really love that phrase, to think the gods sense through us. And then we turn to this verse, the next week, the St. John's verse that says, well, this is what it feels like to be given over to cosmic space. And I drew this form for you. The beauteous luster of the world compels me from the depths of soul that I release to cosmic flight the godly force of my own life. And this when the blue has come all the way into your yellow, and then begins the flight to below. And I don't, just a second, please. There we go. I don't know what that was, but I think you can still see me. My camera just disconnected for a second. So I'll do it again. The beauteous luster of the world compels me from the depths of soul that I release to cosmic flight the godly force of my own life, to leave myself below and trusting seek myself in cosmic light and cosmic warmth. Yeah. So please forgive me, but I'm going to have to leave that to you and hopefully pick it up next week. And we have to do that because we spend so much time looking at the sounds. And I do hope that you appreciated doing some of the sounds. And I'd like to continue that next week as we look at some more colors, including orange and violet. So my hope for you is that you will pay attention to the dynamics of different sounds as you go through your week in your eurythmy practice. Lay with them, lay with the colors as we've been doing them. Work on the sound, of course, on this little form, but mostly feel the colors and try to feel how your emotions, your feeling, and your movements bring different colored energy into your life.